The sun had barely risen when Eliab reached the edge of the city. Jerusalem was already stirring, vendors arranging baskets, Roman soldiers changing watch, pilgrims whispering prayers as they passed through the gates. But Eliab felt as though the world moved without him, as if time itself had left him behind. His clothes were worn thin, his sandals cracked, and his heart was heavier than his body could bear. He had come for healing. Not for his leg, though it dragged uselessly behind him, stiff from an old injury. Not even for his hunger, though he had eaten nothing since the day before. He had come because he had heard there was a man who saw people the way God saw them. And Eliab had not been truly seen in years. He had once been a craftsman, skilled with wood and stone. He had once had a wife who laughed easily and a child who slept curled against his chest. But a single moment, a beam collapsing, a cry of warning too late, had changed everything. His leg had healed poorly. His work disappeared. His wife, worn thin by fear and uncertainty, had left with their child to live with her family. Since then, Eliab had become invisible. People looked past him, or through him, or at him with pity sharp enough to wound. He learned to keep his eyes lowered. He learned not to ask for more than crumbs. But then the rumors began. A teacher from Nazareth. A healer. A man who spoke with authority yet touched lepers. A man who dined with sinners and looked at women as though they were more than shadows. Some said he was dangerous. Others said he was the Messiah. Eliab did not know what to believe. He only knew that when people spoke of Jesus, their voices changed. As if hope itself leaned closer to listen. So he came. The crowd was already thick by the time Eliab reached the hillside. People pressed in from every direction, fishermen smelling of the sea, mothers clutching children, Pharisees standing stiff with folded arms. Eliab stayed at the edge, unsure if he belonged. Then he saw him. Jesus did not stand above the people. He sat among them. His robe was plain, his hands rough like a laborer's. He laughed once, softly, in response to something a child said. And when he looked at someone, he did not glance away quickly or look through them. He looked as though he had all the time in the world. Eliab felt his chest tighten. Jesus began to speak, his voice calm but strong, carrying across the hillside. "Blessed are the poor in spirit," he said, "for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." Eliab swallowed. "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." His hands trembled. "Blessed are the meek, the merciful, the pure in heart." Each word felt like a door opening where Eliab had believed only walls existed. Then Jesus' eyes met his. Not briefly, not by accident. Jesus saw him. Eliab tried to look away, ashamed of the tears suddenly burning his eyes, but he could not. There was no judgment in that gaze. No disappointment. Only knowing. When the teaching ended, people surged forward, calling out, begging for miracles. Eliab stayed where he was. He had lived too long believing that good things were meant for others. But Jesus moved toward him. The crowd seemed to part without knowing why. Jesus knelt so they were eye to eye. "What do you want me to do for you?" Jesus asked. The question shattered Eliab. What did he want? To walk. To work again. To have his family restored. To erase the years of loneliness and regret. His voice broke. "I want to be whole." Jesus smiled, not a triumphant smile, but a tender one, as though Eliab's words mattered deeply. "Then come," he said, offering his hand. Eliab hesitated. His leg throbbed. The fear of disappointment rose like a familiar enemy. Jesus did not pull away. When Eliab finally placed his hand in Jesus, something warm, alive, flowed through him. Not like fire, but like light. His leg loosened. Strength returned. He stood. The crowd gasped. Eliab barely noticed. He was too busy weeping. Jesus did not release his hand until Eliab was steady. "Go in peace," Jesus said. "Your faith has made you whole." But Eliab followed him, not because he needed more miracles, but because he could not leave the one who had loved him without condition. Over the weeks that followed, Eliab walked with Jesus and his disciples. He listened as Jesus spoke of the Father, not as a distant ruler, but as a loving presence who knew every sparrow and counted every tear. He watched Jesus touch those no one else would touch. A leper once fell at Jesus' feet, trembling, face hidden in rags. "If you are willing," the man whispered, "you can make me clean." Jesus reached out and touched him. I am willing, he said. The leper wept as his skin cleared beneath Jesus' hand. Eliab felt something shift inside him. This was not power used to impress. This was love willing to be interrupted, willing to be misunderstood, willing to be near suffering. One night, as they camped beneath the stars, Eliab asked Jesus a question that had haunted him for years. Rabbi, he said quietly, why do bad things happen to those who try to live rightly? Jesus looked at the sky for a long moment. The rain falls on the just and the unjust, he said gently. But the Father does not abandon his children in the storm. Eliab nodded, though the ache remained. As they drew closer to Jerusalem, the mood changed. Whispers followed them. The authorities watched. The disciples argued in low voices about power and position. Eliab sensed danger. On the night of the Passover, Jesus washed the disciples' feet. Eliab watched in stunned silence as the teacher knelt like a servant, his hands gentle, his movements deliberate. Do you know what I have done for you? Jesus asked. No one answered. I have given you an example, he said. Love one another as I have loved you. Later that night, soldiers came. Judas kissed Jesus on the cheek. Eliab wanted to scream. He watched as Jesus was dragged away, beaten, mocked. He wanted to fight, to run, to do something, anything, but fear rooted him to the ground. By morning, Jesus was condemned. By noon, he was carrying a cross. Eliab followed, numb, heart-breaking with every step. The same hands that had healed him were now torn and bleeding. The same voice that had spoken blessing now cried out in pain. When they raised Jesus on the cross, Eliab fell to his knees. This could not be love. Love healed. Love restored. Love did not end like this. And yet, Jesus looked down at the crowd. Father, he said, his voice hoarse, forgive them. They do not know what they are doing. Eliab sobbed. Even now, especially now, Jesus chose love. As darkness fell, Jesus cried out once more and breathed his last. The earth shook. So did Eliab's soul. For 3 days, the world felt empty. Then came the whisper, he is risen. Eliab ran to the tomb. It was empty. Days later, Jesus stood among them, alive. Whole. Radiant. Eliab fell at his feet. Jesus lifted him up. Do not be afraid, he said. In that moment, Eliab understood. Jesus' love was not a momentary miracle or a kind word spoken in passing. It was a love that stepped into pain, carried the weight of human brokenness, and chose sacrifice over safety. It was a love that healed bodies, but more than that, healed souls. Years later, when Eliab told the story, he always ended the same way. I was seen, he would say. I was loved. And that love changed everything.